Okay, I was in the wrong location. So anyway, welcome to the Hardcore Course in Miracles with EARL Purdy. I'm glad to be here with you, and we're going to be covering to have peace, teach peace, to learn it. To have peace, teach peace, to learn it. And that's going to be on page 106. It's amazing. Yes, we're back. We're back. And we are on the EARL Purdy page. Now, and we're going to do to have peace, teach peace, to learn it from A Course in Miracles. To have peace, teach peace, to learn it. That's what we're going to be on this evening. So that's on page 106. Do you know, one thing I've learned from doing the Course in Miracles so many years is that when something comes up to try to distract me, that's usually because I'm getting ready to do something that's a threat to my ego, something that's going to help me really remember God. And so when you're trying to go for the truth at a deeper level than you've ever gone in your life, don't be surprised if some things don't come up to try to distract you. And sometimes one of the most distracting things that a person allows them to get into is a special love relationship. So don't use your special love relationships to distract you from the truth. The purpose of your special love relationships are to help you remember the truth. And the guidelines to the Course in Miracles are: you need not believe the ideas, you need not accept the ideas, you need not even welcome the ideas. Some of the ideas in the Course in Miracles you're going to find hard to believe. Some of the ideas in the Course in Miracles are going to startle you. You're not being asked to analyze and evaluate and try to figure out the Course in Miracles at all. If you use the ideas in the Course in Miracles, if you will actually apply the ideas in the Course in Miracles, you'll see that the ideas in the Course in Miracles are true. Now, if you're going to find that we're on page 106. To have peace, you have to teach peace to learn it. To have peace, you teach peace to learn it. So I'm going to read through the paragraph, and then we're going to go over it. In the text, the Course in Miracles text. To have peace, you teach peace to learn it. And the first line says, all who believe in separation have a basic fear of retaliation and abandonment. So if you are a person that has a fear of abandonment, the Course in Miracles says a person that has a fear of abandonment, that's a person who believes that they're separate from God. A person who has a fear of abandonment is a person who believes that they are separate from love. Those who believe in separation believe in attack and rejection. And so attack and rejection is what those who believe in separation perceive and teach and learn. So if you see anyone that attacks, or if you see anyone that believes in rejection, then you're talking to someone who believes that they're separate from God. That's a person who believes that they're separate from God. So if a person believes in attack and rejection, then they teach it. That means that they demonstrate attack and rejection, and they see attack and rejection, and they teach it and they learn it. So someone who believes they're separate from God, separate from love, that's a person who's going to be angry and upset and attacking people all the time. That's going to be a person that's rejecting people all the time, because that is what they see, so that is what they teach, and that is what they learn. And A Course in Miracles says to teach is to demonstrate. So when we say to have peace, teach peace, to learn it, we're talking about to have peace, demonstrate peace, to learn peace. So a teacher is a demonstrator. A teacher is not someone that's just talking it. A teacher is a demonstrator. The next line on page 106, we're in the section to have peace, teach peace, to learn it. It says these insane ideas are clearly the result of dissociation and projection. So attack and rejection, the Course in Miracles says these insane ideas are clearly the result of dissociation and projection. So projection, attack is projection. Rejection is projection. So what you teach, you are. So whatever you demonstrate, that's what you are. If you demonstrate peace, you're a peaceful person. If you demonstrate kindness, you're a kind person. If you demonstrate love, you're a loving person. To demonstrate is to teach. So what you teach, you are. Do you know that means whatever you demonstrate? Whatever you demonstrate, that's what you are. But it's quite apparent you can teach wrongly and can therefore teach yourself wrong. So you can teach wrongly. A person can teach wrongly. And when a person teaches wrongly, the Course says they're teaching themselves wrong. So what is it that we're teaching wrongly? The Course says whenever you believe that you're separate from God, whenever you believe that you're separate from God, whenever you believe that you're separate from God, then that was going to be a person who believes that they can be abandoned. That's a person who attacks. That's a person who believes in rejection. And the Course says, and because that person believes in attack, and because that person believes in rejection, then that is what that person is going to demonstrate. And it says, what you teach, you are. But it's quite apparent that you can teach wrongly and can therefore teach yourself wrong. You can teach yourself wrong things. You can teach yourself wrong things. You can teach yourself wrong things. And then Jesus, who is the author of the Course in Miracles, Jesus of the Course says, many thought I was attacking them, even though it was apparent I wasn't. Jesus was only trying to heal and help others, but people act like he was trying to. Some people felt like he was attacking them. Some people felt like he was hurting them. And so the Course in Miracles says an insane learner learns strange lessons. So we have learned strange lessons. A Course in Miracles says we have learned strange lessons. And that's made us insane learners. And an insane learner is an insane perceiver. So the Course in Miracles says, what is the first thing that you must recognize? It says, what you must recognize is this. When you don't share a thought system, when you don't share another person's way of thinking, when you don't share another person's way of thinking, you are weakening it. So if you want to weaken a way of thinking, all you have to do is not believe it, not share it, not give it. So there's a thought system of fear and there's a thought system of love. There's a thought system of oneness and there's a thought system of separation. So the Course says, if you don't believe that way of thinking, if you don't believe that you're separate from God, if you don't believe you're separate from love, if you don't believe that you are guilty, if you don't believe that you deserve to be rejected, if you don't believe in attack, then you are weakening the thought system of attack. If you don't believe what another person is saying, the Course in Miracles says you're weakening it. So all you have to do is not believe what you don't want to be true. When it comes to belief systems, there's not but two belief systems: a belief system that's based on peace and a belief system that's based on fear. And the Course in Miracles says what you must recognize is that when you do not share a thought system, you are weakening that thought system, which means those who believe in that thought system therefore perceive you not believing in the thought system as an attack on them. So people tend to feel like when you don't believe what they believe, that is an attack on them. That's because everybody identifies himself with his thought system. So the Course says everybody identifies themselves with the way that they think. Everybody identifies themselves with the way that they think. And the Course in Miracles says every thought system centers on what you believe you are. So your way of thinking is based on what you believe you are. If you believe that you are a loving person, then your way of thinking is based on love. If you believe that you are a guilty person, then your way of thinking is rooted in guilt. If the center of your thought system is true, if your thought system is true, then the Course says only truth extends from it. So if your way of thinking is true, do you know that if your way of thinking is true, only truth would extend from your way of thinking? If your way of thinking is based on love, then only love is going to extend from your way of thinking. But if a lie is at its center. If a lie is at your way of thinking, if your way of thinking is based on a lie, what is the lie? The lie is that you are separate from God, that you are separate from love, that you are separate. That is a lie. That you are separate, not connected, disconnected from God is a lie. That is a lie. That you are separate, that you are different, that you are apart from God, that you are apart from everything and everybody. That's a lie. So anytime someone is communicating from the perception that they're separate from everybody, basically the Course in Miracles is saying everything that comes out of that person's mouth is a lie if what they're saying is based on the idea of being separate from God and being separate from everything and everybody. And so a leader says, I will not strengthen the thought system of attack and separation by believing it. That is exactly right. And Quana says, you don't have to believe anything. You don't have to believe anything. A leader says, I believe in love. I believe in wholeness. And Latricia says, I am innocent. I am love, peace, joy, and abundance. See, that is a thought system that's based on the truth. That's a way of thinking that's based on the truth. So only truth can come out of it. When you tell yourself you're innocent, when you tell yourself that you are love, when you tell yourself that you are peace, when you tell yourself that you are joy, when you tell yourself that you are abundant, then that is the truth. That is the truth about you. So only truth extends from that. Jack says to have peace, the lie is I am separate from love, separate from everyone and everybody. I have been a liar. Jax, we're lying every day, all day. Every time we open our mouths and we communicate from the perspective that we're separate from each other and different from each other, that's a lie. So people who believe that they're separate are also people who believe that they can be abandoned, and they also are people who believe they can retaliate and be retaliated against. That's also a person that believes in attack, so they're going off on people all day. And that's a person that believes in rejection. So that person believes a way of thinking that is a lie, that is not true. So what do we do? Well, the Course in Miracles says in chapter 6, section 5, paragraph 2, it says, all good teachers. Okay, so if you're going to be a good teacher, what is it that you need to realize? It says all good teachers realize that only fundamental change will last, but they don't begin at that level. Only basic fundamental change will last. You got to change at the level of your core. You got to change at the level of your core belief if you want your change to last, but you don't begin at that level. What is it that a good teacher does? A good teacher strengthens motivation for change. That's their first and foremost goal. So the Course in Miracles is telling me as a teacher that the most important thing that I could do for anybody that's watching my classes is to try to be a motivator, to motivate them to want to change their thinking, to motivate the person to want to practice another way of thinking and looking at things. And I'm going to share some things that hopefully will motivate you to want to change. And it is this sentence: doing what the Course in Miracles says will bring to you everything that you've ever wanted in your heart. When you do what the Course in Miracles teaches, it will bring you everything you've ever wanted in your heart for real. If you study and practice the principles of the Course in Miracles, you will eventually be free of all anger. You will eventually be free of all guilt, all lack, all sickness. You will be free of all anxiety, all cares and concerns and fears. If you practice the Course in Miracles, if you do the thought system of a Course in Miracles, if you learn what the Course in Miracles is teaching, that will solve every problem that you think you have. Every problem that you think you have, the Course in Miracles can give you the correct perception of any problem or any situation that you think you have. But you've got to be willing to give the Course in Miracles your attention and some study. The Course in Miracles says, strengthening motivation for change is the good teacher's first and foremost goal. So my goal is to strengthen your motivation to change. And it's also my last and final goal. My first goal and my last goal is hopefully to motivate someone that's watching my classes to change, to want to change themselves into a much more loving, prosperous, happy, peaceful, beautiful being. Then the Course in Miracles says in paragraph 2, increasing motivation for change in the learner is all that a teacher need do to guarantee change. So if you want somebody to change, if you want to change, or if you want somebody to change, what is it that you do to guarantee change? Well, in order to guarantee change, you have to increase the motivation in the other person to change. You have to help increase that person's motivation to change. That's the only way you can seemingly change someone else, is to increase their motivation to change themselves. If you want to see a change in your child, if you want to see a change in your partner, if you want to see a change in anyone in your life, what you have to do is motivate them to want to change. You can't change anybody, but you can certainly motivate someone to want to treat you better. You can motivate someone to want to be kind and loving to you. You can't change them, but you can motivate them to want to change. Then it says, what is a change in motivation? So you take the Course in Miracles slowly. I've been doing the Course in Miracles almost 40 years. Just slow down. Just slow down. Don't analyze it. Just hear what it's saying. Let me give you an example. What did that paragraph just say to us? That if you're a good teacher, you know that the only kind of change that's going to really last is a basic, fundamental, core change. And you don't begin at that hardcore level. You want to strengthen the motivation for change. So if you want to see a change in anybody, if you want to see a change in yourself, if you want to see a change in someone around you, the most you can do is to try to increase their motivation to change, because you can't change them, but you can increase their motivation to change. That's all you need to do to guarantee a change. So what is a change in motivation? The Course in Miracles says change in motivation is a change of mind. Change of motivation is a change of mind. And a change of mind, this will inevitably produce fundamental change, because the mind is fundamental. So take that sentence. Change in motivation is what? Change of mind. So when you say you're going to change your motivation, you have to change your mind. Changing your motivation is changing your mind. Changing your motivation is changing your mind. So what you're doing is you have to increase a person's motivation to change their mind. That's how you guarantee change in anybody. The most you can do to change anyone is to give them a reason to change themselves. Is to motivate them to change themselves. And I can see how that would apply to your partner if you're in a relationship that you'd like to see a change in. I can see how that would apply in your relationship to your children. I can see how that applies to how the Holy Spirit is also teaching us right now. You see, the Holy Spirit, the divine in us, the Holy Spirit in us, the voice for God in us, the voice for God in us is through the Course in Miracles. What the Course in Miracles is doing and what Jesus is doing in the Course in Miracles is Jesus is trying to increase our motivation to read the Course, to increase our motivation to change our mind, to increase our motivation to learn how to truly be loving. So that's the most you can do for anybody. Change of motivation is a change of mind, and when you change your mind, that's a fundamental change. So you don't start out by trying to change a person's mind. What you do is you start out by trying to motivate the person to change their mind. If you want to be a good teacher, you have to be a good motivator. And a teacher is a demonstrator. So if you're going to motivate someone, you have to be a demonstrator of what you're trying to motivate the other person to do. If I want to motivate you to be more loving to me, then I have to demonstrate being more loving to you. I have to demonstrate. A teacher is a demonstrator. A teacher is a demonstrator. You're not a teacher if you're not demonstrating. Just talking A Course in Miracles and talking love and talking peace is not the same as being a teacher. A teacher is a demonstrator. And what is it that a demonstrator does? A demonstrator, which is a teacher, is they have one goal. So what is the goal of a true teacher? You could say, if you were a parent, what is the goal of a parent with their child? The goal is to what? Strengthen that person's motivation to change. That's the most you can do. Then in paragraph 3 on page 107, in the section to have peace, teach peace to learn it on page 107. So let me look at the comments. Kim says, I want to change my mind to change my mindset. Quana says, you can inspire someone to want to change by changing yourself. Another comment, change of motivation is changing my mind. Joanne says, changing my motivation is changing my mind. Jim Pope says, I want to change my mind to have a change in my motivation, to seek only for peace. Diane says, change your motivation, change your mind. Kim says, if I want peace, I have to be the peace. Another comment, I need to demonstrate more love to teach love. Diane says, I want to be a good teacher, and that's a good motivator. So a good teacher is a good motivator. A good teacher is a good motivator. So let's look at paragraph 3 on page 107. So what is the first step? What is the first step in the undoing process? If you're going to undo an old way of looking at things that's based on separation and attack and rejection, if you want to get rid of that way of thinking, the first step in the reversal, and the reversal is the undoing process. So the undoing process is a reversal. And so what is the first step? If you want to undo your ego, if you want to undo your fear, if you want to undo the part of you that believes in attack, if you want to undo the part of you that believes in rejection and retaliation, the Course says the first step in the reversal or undoing process is the undoing of the getting concept. So the first step to changing your mind and being motivated by love and truth is you got to let go of this concept that you got to go out and get something. You don't have to get love. You don't have to get a mate. You don't have to get sex. You don't have to get God. You don't have to get success. So what is the first thing that we've got to let go of? We have to let go of the getting concept. If we want to undo our ego, what do? We start to let go of the concept of getting. Actually, the Holy Spirit's first lesson, do you know what the first lesson of love is? The first lesson of the Holy Spirit was to give all to all. So the first step is to recognize that if you want to have something, you have to give it. Whatever you want to have, you have to give. Whatever you want to have, you have to give. And the Course in Miracles says, what is it that you are supposed to give? You are supposed to give, it says, full appreciation. That we're supposed to give each other full appreciation. When it says to have, give all to all, the Course in Miracles is talking about to have full appreciation, give full appreciation, demonstrate full appreciation, all day long, as many times as you can think of it, for every reason that you can think of it. Tell a person what you appreciate. Say, thank you, I'm grateful, I appreciate this. Thank you, I'm grateful, I appreciate you. I appreciate this, I appreciate you. I'm so thankful for this. I'm so thankful for you. I'm so thankful for you. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate what you do. I really appreciate. I'm so grateful. Thank you. To have, give all to all means to have full appreciation, give full appreciation to all. If you read that section, you will see that it says to have means to give all to all means give full appreciation. That's what the Course in Miracles is talking about. That may not be what you or another person may have decided that statement means, but that statement to have, give all to all, that is a statement that is in this particular section, the section before this one, and it tells you that you first to have, give all to all. You got to give full appreciation. The second step is to have peace, teach peace to learn it. So if you're going to have peace in your life, you've got to demonstrate peace in your life. And when you're demonstrating peace, then you're learning peace. And then what is the first step in the undoing the ego? What's the first step in undoing the ego? Getting rid of the getting concept. You're not here to get anything. It's not about you getting anything. So accordingly, the Holy Spirit's first lesson was to give all to all. Now, I say that this is apt to increase conflict temporarily. The idea of giving all to all makes some people feel conflict because they misperceive what it's saying. Whenever you misperceive what the Course in Miracles is saying, you will feel conflict and you will feel resistance. Do you know that whenever you are misperceiving what the Course in Miracles is saying, then it increases your conflict? So do you know that if you are reading A Course in Miracles and you have read something and it increased your conflict and it increased your resistance, it means that you were not interpreting what you read correctly. So let's clarify this statement, to have all, give all to all. It says, and to have peace, teach peace to learn it. It says, at this point, the equality of having and being is not yet perceived. We don't know that you have something by being it, that having and being is the same thing. If I want to have peace, I have to be peaceful. If I want to have love, I have to be loving. See what it's saying? Having something and being it are the same thing. He says, but we don't see that yet. We don't realize that yet. And then the next sentence says, until you see that having and being, until it is, that you recognize what? That having something and being it is the same thing. It says, until it is, having appears to be the opposite of giving. It looks like when you've given something away, you don't have it anymore. So it looks like if it says give all to all, then it means that you've given everything you have away, so you're now in lack. But that's not the correct perception. The Course in Miracles says that the first lesson seems to contain a contradiction. How can you have something that you've given away? And the Course says the conflict is happening to us because we are learning A Course in Miracles, but we are the ones with a mind in conflict, that you're the mind in fear. And since your mind is in conflict, and since a part of your mind is in fear, then it will look like the truth contains contradictions. When your mind is in conflict, when your mind is in fear, the truth will seem like it is full of contradictions. That's because there's a conflicted mind that's trying to learn. And so it will seem like there's a lot of conflict and that the truth is the opposite of what it's saying. In other words, when you have a conflicted mind, the Course says this means you have conflicting motivation. Sometimes you're motivated, sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're motivated to go toward love and the truth and peace, and sometimes you're not. And he says because you sometimes want peace and sometimes do not want peace, then it will look like to have something, giving it away, means you don't have it anymore. But the truth is, the conflict is coming from I'm not 100% consistent in my desire for truth, in my desire for peace. And so the lesson cannot be learned consistently as yet. So why is it that we don't learn the Course in Miracles consistently yet? It says because you have a conflicted mind. And a conflicted mind is a mind that is not consistent in its motivation. And when your mind isn't consistent in its motivation, it will look like the truth has a lot of contradictions. It will look like the Course in Miracles has a lot of contradictions. Further, the mind of the learner projects its own conflict. So the Course is telling us, you all project your own conflict. You all project your own conflict. And when you project your conflict, it says, and thus does not perceive consistency in the minds of others. So why is it that you do not see consistency in the minds of others? Because you are projecting your conflict, the Course says. You are projecting your conflicting motivation, and so it looks like other people are not consistent. Let me give you a quick example. I don't consistently want and demonstrate love and peace, so it looks like others do not consistently demonstrate love and peace. So what does that mean? it means that if it looks like other people are not constantly, consistently demonstrating love and peace, then it means that I am not constantly and consistently demonstrating love and peace. And so that makes me suspicious of their motivations. So what makes a person suspicious of someone else's motivations? What is it that makes someone suspicious of someone else's motivation? Because they don't see consistency in that other person. And they don't realize they don't see consistent love in that other person because you don't have consistent love in yourself. When you see consistent love in yourself, when you have consistent love, when you give consistent love, when you are motivated only to give consistent love, then you will see and experience consistent love. This is the real reason why, in many respects, the first lesson is the hardest to learn. So what is the first lesson? To have all, give all to all. What is the first lesson? To have full appreciation, give full appreciation, to have full appreciation. Let me share something with you. I am not making this up. I am not giving you EARL Purdy's opinion of what the Course in Miracles is saying. I'm not giving you EARL Purdy's interpretation of A Course in Miracles. I am using A Course in Miracles to teach A Course in Miracles. Everything that I'm saying to you is right here on the page in front of you and right here on the page in front of me. It says it right here. This is the real reason why, in many respects, the first lesson, which is what? To have all, give all to all, is the hardest to learn. Why is to have all, give all to all the hardest lesson to learn? Well, in the next sentence, it tells you. You see, when you study A Course in Miracles, it's almost as if the Course in Miracles anticipates the questions that you will have. And so if you just continue to read without analyzing it, then you will find that the next sentence, or within the next 3 sentences or 4 sentences, will probably be the answer that you have been looking for. So, what it says, this is the real reason why, in many respects, the first lesson is the hardest to learn. Then he's going to explain to us what he means by that. Still strongly aware of the ego in yourself. You know, right now I'm really aware of my own ego. Right now I'm really aware of my own self-concepts. Right now I'm really aware of looking at myself as a separate person. Right now I'm totally aware of my own fearful thoughts, my own guilty thoughts, my own frightening thoughts. That's the ego. That's when the Course says strongly aware of the ego in yourself. That's the same as saying strongly aware of the fear in yourself. And responding primarily to the ego in others. Do you know that I'm aware of my ego, and I'm also responding primarily to your ego? I'm responding to your ego, and I'm aware of my ego. The Course in Miracles says that's how everybody's walking around. They are aware of their own ego, and then they're responding to the ego in others. I have fear in my mind. I have the thought of separation in my mind, and so I'm primarily responding to the fear in your mind and the idea of separation that you have. So I'm aware of my separation from God. I'm aware of my separation from love. I'm aware of my ego. I'm responding primarily to your ego. But the Course in Miracles is teaching me to react to my ego and your ego as if what I believe isn't true. You see, I believe in my fears. I believe in my guilt. I believe in my separation. I'm responding to the part of you that primarily thinks that you're separate from me. I'm responding to the part of you that thinks you're just a person that's separate from me. I'm also aware of myself as being a separate person that's in fear. And so the Course in Miracles says, you know, that your ego, your sense of separation, your fears are not true. And then the Course in Miracles says that the other person's ego, the other person's fears and guilts are not true. So this book is really basically teaching me to react just the opposite to what I believe is true. I believe I have an ego. I believe that I'm separate. I believe I'm a body. I believe you have an ego. I believe you're separate. I believe that you're a body. And this book is telling me I'm not my ego and you are not your ego. That's what it's telling me. It's telling me that you are not your body. You are not an ego. You are not something separate from me. You are not something apart from me. That's what this book is telling me. That's what Jesus is telling me. And the Course in Miracles says, upside down as always, the ego perceives the first lesson as insane. There's a part of me that perceives this lesson that we are studying as insane. The Course says there's a part of you that thinks it's insane to say that you are not a body, that it's insane to say that you are not afraid or upset, that it's insane to believe that there's a part of you that believes it's insane for you to believe that you can have all by giving all to all. In fact, this is its only alternative, since the other possibility, which would be much less acceptable to your ego, would obviously be that your ego is insane. So my ego would rather me believe that the Course in Miracles is insane, rather than admit to myself that I'm the one that's the insane person. I'm the one that with the insane thinking. Rather than do that, my ego wants me to think the Course in Miracles is insane. Anybody that believes what the Course in Miracles is teaching about us being one, and about us actually it's okay to give all, because if you give all, that's how you have all. The Course in Miracles says there's a part of us that believes that what the Course in Miracles teaches is crap. That there's a part of you that believes what the Course in Miracles is teaching isn't true. The Course in Miracles says there's a part of you that doesn't believe what the Course in Miracles teaches, that's threatened by what the Course in Miracles teaches. The next sentence says, the ego's judgment here, as always, is predetermined by what the ego is. So where does the fundamental change happen? Where does the fundamental change happen? The fundamental change will still occur with the change of mind of the thinker. So the basic change that you want to make in order to make your life better is going to happen through you changing your mind. If you want your life to be happy, it's based on you changing your mind. You're choosing to learn the Course in Miracles thought system, which is based on love. The Course in Miracles thought system that's based on freedom. The Course in Miracles thought system is based on innocence. The Course in Miracles thought system is based on God. The Course in Miracles thought system is based on oneness. And so until you are willing to change your mind, to think along the lines that the Course in Miracles teaches, if you say the Course in Miracles is your path, that's why I do hardcore Course in Miracles on Thursday night, because hardcore Course in Miracles is primarily aimed at students who are studying the Course in Miracles, who know they want to learn the Course in Miracles, and they want to get past every block to learning the Course in Miracles, and they would love to have some support. They would love to have someone who has studied it for a very long time to maybe be of assistance to them. And as a teacher, my motivation, my number one goal is to hopefully motivate you to want to love yourself more, motivate you to want to read the book more, to change your mind. That's all you can do. You can never change another person's mind. You can just hopefully motivate them to want to change their own mind. So the Course in Miracles says the fundamental change will still occur with the change of mind in the thinker. So where does the fundamental change happen? The fundamental change happens with you changing your mind. He says, meanwhile, while you're working on changing your mind, the increasing clarity of the Holy Spirit's voice. So while you're doing the Course in Miracles, you're going to experience the increasing clarity of the voice of love. You're going to hear the voice of love more and more as you continue to study the Course in Miracles and you continue to change your mind. It's going to become impossible for you not to listen to the Holy Spirit. It's going to become impossible for you not to listen to the Holy Spirit. If you continue to do the Course in Miracles, it's going to become impossible for you not to hear God's voice. If you keep continuing to give the Course in Miracles your attention and your study, and you apply the principles, you will find that it's going to become impossible for you, the learner, not to listen to God's voice. Isn't that wonderful to know one day it will be impossible for you not to listen to the truth? One day it's going to be impossible for you not to listen to God, not to listen to the Holy Spirit. For you not to listen to the Holy Spirit is going to become impossible for you. It's going to become impossible for you not to listen to love. It's going to become impossible for you not to listen to a voice that's loving. You know, one of the things I noticed as I continue to want to be more loving myself is that when you speak words of love to a person that doesn't love themselves yet, they can't even hear what you're saying. They don't even pay any attention to the loving things you're saying. It's like you're saying loving things and it's just going straight over their heads. So the Course in Miracles is saying one day that person will be listening to every loving thought that comes out of your mouth, because it will become impossible for them not to listen to the voice of the Holy Spirit. But that's going to happen one day. But in the meantime, you're going to feel some conflict while you're doing the initial change from one thought system to the other. So the Course says, for a time then, the learner is receiving conflicting messages and accepting both. Now, what does that mean? It means that, okay, you got your old way of thinking, and then you have the new way of thinking that the Course in Miracles is trying to teach us, right? So we have the old way of thinking that's based on love and guilt and sin and separation. And then we have this new way of thinking from the Course in Miracles that's based on love. And so for a while, you're listening to your old way of thinking based on fear and separation, and you're listening to the new way of thinking that you're learning from A Course in Miracles. So as a Course in Miracles student, for a while, you're going to be listening to your ego, and then you're going to listen to the Holy Spirit. Then you're going to listen to your ego, then you're going to listen to your Holy Spirit. Then you're going to listen to your ego, then you're going to listen to your ego, then you're going to listen to your ego, then you're going to listen to the Holy Spirit. Then you're going to listen to the Holy Spirit. You're going to listen to the lie that you learned that you're separate from God and that you're just a body and that you're separate from the world. And then you're going to hear that voice in you that's telling you that you're beyond the body, you're not a body, you're totally innocent, you're totally spirit. So for a while, you're going to be receiving conflicting messages, and the Course says you're going to be accepting both. So give yourself a break. Give yourself a break. You're still going to say and do crazy stuff every now and then, and you're going to also do very loving things out and every now and then. In the beginning, in the transition, you're going to still be following both voices. You're going to be going back and forth between the old way and the new way of thinking. That's going to produce conflict. And so you're going to see the people around you sometimes being very loving and then sometimes being friggin' crazy. That's because you are going back and forth between focusing in on the truth that you're learning from A Course in Miracles and then focusing on the old way of thinking based on fear that you learn from the world. And so the Course in Miracles is saying that's why the people around you may seem like they're not consistent. Guess what? They're not consistent because you aren't consistent yet. You don't always practice the truth. You aren't always loving. You aren't always forgiving. Be real. If you were already doing this completely, then you would be in a state of bliss all the time. So you're not consistent in your forgiveness. You're not consistent in your kindness. You're not consistent all the time in being forgiving and understanding. So why are you expecting everybody else to be consistent all the time? That's what the Course is trying to tell us. So how do you get out of this conflict? How do you get out of this conflict? How do you get out of this conflict? Are you all with me? Are you all still with me? Is this making sense? All I'm doing is saying to you what the Course in Miracles is saying, but in a way that hopefully you can hear it. So that you can hopefully hear it. Because the truth isn't really complicated. Thank you for all the hearts letting me know that you hear what I'm talking about. Because I'm doing this class live so we can have interaction with each other. So that we can know we have each other to help each other remember. There's no point in being in a relationship with somebody that's not helping you remember God. There's no point in being in a relationship with somebody that's not helping you remember the truth. There's no point in being in a relationship where you are not helping each other remember the truth. There is no point of being in a relationship with anybody that's not helping you remember God. The most important thing that anybody can do in any relationship, the most important goal that any two people can have in any relationship is the goal of helping each other remember love, the goal of helping each other remember the truth. That's the real reason to be in a relationship. That's what makes it a holy, happy, healed relationship. You're not in a relationship for security. You're not in a relationship for money. You're not in a relationship so that you have somebody to grow old with. You're supposed to be in your relationships so that you can use your relationships to help increase each other's motivation to change into a much more loving being. That's why you are together, to help each other remember that you're innocent. Okay, thank you, William. I'm glad it's clear. Thank you, Bridget, for letting me know. Consistent. You're not consistent, so why should you expect everybody else to be consistent? You're not always honest about everything you think, say, and do. So why do you expect everybody else to be honest about what they think, say, or do, EARL? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of ridiculous when you think about it. that we expect people to be adherent to standards that we ourselves don't even adhere to. So what is the way out of conflict? What conflict? The conflict between two opposing thought systems. So the way out of conflict between two opposing thought systems is clearly to choose one and relinquish the other. If you want to be out of conflict, the conflict that you're going through because you have two opposite ways of thinking. You have one way of thinking that's based on fear and separateness, and you have another way of thinking that's based on love and oneness. How do you get out of that conflict? How do you get out of that conflict? That's right, Wakila. We got some nerve. That is true. Well, the Course in Miracles says the way out of conflict between two ways of thinking is clearly choose one way of thinking and let go of the other one. If the Course in Miracles, which is a thought system based on love, is going to be the thought system that you say you believe in and the thought system that you say that you want to live by, then what you need to do is use the Course in Miracles thought system that's based on love. That's what you do. You stop using the ego's thought system, which is based on anger, guilt, grievances in the past, and attack and rejection and abandonment. So the way out of conflict between two opposing ways of thinking is to choose one way of thinking and let go of the other way of thinking. Now, if you identify with your way of thinking, the Course in Miracles says you can't help but identify with your way of thinking. If I have a negative way of thinking, I think I'm a negative person. If I have a guilty, angry way of thinking, I will think I am a guilty, angry person. I'm going to always identify with what I think. I'm going to always identify with what I believe. So the Course in Miracles says, if you accept two ways of thinking, if you accept two thought systems which are in complete disagreement, if you're following along with me, I think that, let me see, I'm using my Kindle, so let me see where this is in the book. The way out of conflict. Okay. We are on page 107, paragraph 6. And it says, if you try to keep holding on to two different ways of thinking, that you are one and that you are separate, that you are body and that you are spirit, that you are love and then you are fear. He says, as long as you keep on trying to believe two ways of thinking that are in total disagreement with each other, peace of mind is impossible. So what makes peace of mind impossible? What makes having a peaceful mind impossible? Well, what makes having a peaceful mind impossible is having two ways of thinking, trying to live according to two ways of thinking. You have to stop trying to live according to two ways of thinking. You cannot keep judging yourself according to the world's standards and then also trying to judge yourself according to spiritual standards. They are totally opposite. So you will never have peace of mind. You won't have happiness and peace of mind if you're still trying to believe what the truth is teaching and then turn right back around and then believe what the world is thinking. So the Course in Miracles says, if you teach both, what does that mean? If you teach love and fear, if you demonstrate peace and conflict, he says what you're going to surely do, as long as you accept both peace and conflict, as long as you accept that love and fear are both real, as long as you accept that guilt and innocence are both real, then you are teaching conflict and you are learning conflict. So how do you teach conflict? How do you teach conflict and learn conflict? You keep two ways of thinking and you keep trying to demonstrate both of them. You cannot believe you are a body and believe you are not a body. You cannot believe you are a body and also believe you are not a body. You have to accept either one or the other is true. Your body is a temporary communication device. Your body is a learning device. Your body is a learning device. Just like a hammer, it's like a carpenter uses a hammer, but the carpenter is not his hammer. You have a body, but you are not your body. Your body is a means of communication. Your body is a means of communication. Your body is a means of joining. Your body is a way to learn the truth. Your body is a way to extend the good, the beautiful, and the holy. So you are not a body. You have to let go of the idea that you are not a body. But how do you do that? The Course in Miracles says the way that you do that is to see yourself as innocent. See yourself as innocent and want to see others as innocent. And the Course in Miracles says if you will see yourself as innocent, if you will see yourself as innocent, then you're going to see the body as sinless and guiltless. And you're also going to come to the realization that the body is not you. The body is your way of communicating. For a while our vision of each other is still so dim, we still have to express love through one body to another body. But you are not the body. You are not the body. You are free. You are not the body. So the Course in Miracles says here, if you teach both peace and conflict, if you teach both ways of thinking, he says, which you will surely do as long as you accept both, you are teaching or demonstrating conflict and you're learning conflict. Yet you do want peace. Like Jesus says, you know, I know y'all want peace. You really do want peace. Or you wouldn't have called upon me for peace to help you. So Jesus is saying, look, I know you're really sincere about wanting peace and love, but you never would have called on me. I know that you really want a more happy, peaceful life, but you never would have called on me for peace to help you. So Jesus, Holy Spirit, the voice for God, knows that you are sincere in your desire for love, knows that you are sincere in your desire for peace because you called on God. See, calling on God is your way of letting God know you really want what you're asking for. If you call on the Holy Spirit, then the Holy Spirit knows you must really want what you're asking for because you called on the Holy Spirit for peace. You called on the Holy Spirit to help you. So the lesson in love that you're going to learn by the Holy Spirit is not an insane lesson. Okay, you going through conflict is insane. The lesson that you're going to learn, the lessons from the Course in Miracles that you're going to learn, those lessons are not insane. Being in this conflict all the time, the Course in Miracles says that's what's insane. Now, there can be no conflict between sanity and insanity. There's no conflict between love and fear. There's no conflict. It's only conflict when you try to believe both of them and practice both of them, but they're not in conflict. There's no conflict between sanity and insanity. Sanity and insanity are not fighting it out, but because only one is true. Between love and fear, both of those can't be true. One of those has to be true, and it's love. Between the two thoughts of guilt and innocence, both guilt and innocence cannot be true. So only innocence is real. The ego tries to persuade you that it's up to you to decide which voice is true, but the Holy Spirit teaches you that the truth was created by God and your decision cannot change the truth. Okay, so what is the false voice? What is the ego trying to persuade you? The ego is trying to teach you that it's up to you to decide what the truth is. Your wrong voice is telling you that it's up to you to decide what's the truth. That somehow what's true is what you believe is true. That something isn't true unless you think it's true. The Course says that's how you can always tell when you're listening to your ego. Because your ego will try to persuade you that it's up to you to decide which voice is true. The Holy Spirit, which is your real self, the Holy Spirit, he says, teaches you that the truth was created by God. So what is the Holy Spirit in you going to teach you? What's the voice of truth in you going to teach you? The voice and truth in you is going to teach you that God created the truth. God created the truth. God created everything that is real. God created the truth. God created love. God created the truth. And your decision can't change it. So the Holy Spirit is going to tell you, look, the truth was created by God. Love is created by God. And no matter what you do, you can't change it. God is love. Love is the only thing that's real. Freedom is the only thing that's real. You can't change that. You can't change God. You can't change me. You can't change anything that's real. Your ego is going to tell you it's up to you to decide what's true. That it's up to you to decide what's real. That something isn't real and something isn't true unless you believe it's real and unless you say it's true. Then the Course in Miracles says, as you begin to realize the quiet power of the Holy Spirit's voice and its perfect consistency, it must dawn on your mind that you're trying to undo a decision that was irrevocably made for you. So what happens as you realize the power of the Holy Spirit's voice? What happens to you when you start to really realize the power of the voice for love? And what's going to help you realize the voice for love, and what's going to help you recognize the voice for love, is that the voice for love is consistent. Someone who loves you, that's a person who will love you consistently. That person will not love you every now and then. The person who really loves you does not love you conditionally. The person who really loves you does not love you conditionally. Their love is consistent. They don't love you in the morning and they're mad at you and hate you in the afternoon. Love is consistent. True love is consistent. True love is consistent. True love is consistent. So he says, as you realize the quiet power of the Holy Spirit's voice, as you realize its perfect consistency, what's going to dawn on your mind? When you see the consistency of the Holy Spirit, what's going to dawn on your mind? What's going to dawn on your mind is that you're trying to undo a decision for your happiness and your peace that was irrevocably made for you. What does that mean? It means the Holy Spirit, God, has already made the decision that you are going to be fully appreciated, that you're going to be fully loved, that you're going to have only peace. You can mess around as long as you want to, trying to make yourself happy through trying to control everything around you and blaming other people for what you're going through or seeing yourself as a victim. But you will not change the fact. The fact is you are loved, and the fact is you will always be loved. And the fact is that the Holy Spirit is going to always teach you and motivate you and try to get you to be willing to change your mind so that you can have the perfect happiness that God wills for you. But you have to resign as your own teacher. You don't really know how to make yourself happy. You've been trying to make yourself happy all your life, and the best you've ever done has been to have some form of temporary happiness before you started the next thing that you thought needed to be different in order for you to be happy. You know that's the truth. You know you've never been satisfied. You know as soon as you get something, it's not that much longer before you want something else. And that's what the Course in Miracles is saying to us, that God's voice is consistent. Love's voice is consistent. And you can't undo God's decision. And God's decision is that you're going to have perfect happiness. God's decision is that you deserve perfect happiness. And I'm looking at all of your comments, and I know you're reading each other's comments. Latricia says the voice of love is consistent. Jan says the quiet power of the Holy Spirit irrevocably senses power of love. Diane says true love is consistent. And I want you to really hear that, because we are here to learn the difference between love, real love, and what's not real love. And the Course in Miracles is saying, you know what, you all are not experiencing real love. What you all are calling real love isn't real love. It's just specialness. It's just treating some people better than you treat other people, depending on what you think they can do for you and how they're going to make you happy. He says that's the ego thought system. And so long as you keep the ego thought system and the new thought system of unconditional love, he says you're going to be in conflict, you're going to be inconsistent, and so therefore you're going to attract people to you who are in conflict and who are also inconsistent. But the Holy Spirit is going to become a stronger and stronger voice in you, because you are now becoming motivated to study on your own and to change your mind, right? Because we were told earlier that a change of mind is a change of motivation. And so how do you know if you've changed your motivation? Well, the way that you know if you've changed your motivation is that you've changed your mind, which means that you are demonstrating peace so that you can have peace. It means that you've started to give full appreciation because you want to experience full appreciation. And it says, that is why I, Jesus, suggested that what? That you remind yourself to allow the Holy Spirit to decide for God for you. So you need to remind yourself. See what I mean by remembering? The Course in Miracles says you need to remind yourself. And what is it that you need to remind yourself of? He says you need to remind yourself to allow the Holy Spirit to decide for God for you. Right now you may not be at a point where you can always decide for God, where you can always decide for your peace, where you can always decide for your abundance, and where you can always decide for your happiness. You might be right now not consistently motivated or loving yourself enough to always only want only peace and love for yourself. So what do? What do? You say, Holy Spirit, decide for God for me. Holy Spirit, the voice for love, the voice for God, decide for love for me. Decide for love for me. God, will you decide for love for me? Sometimes I don't decide for love and peace for myself. Would you decide for love for me and peace for me? Would you make the decision, God, for love and peace and abundance and joy for me? Holy Spirit, would you make the decision for me for my own best interest? Holy Spirit, would you make all of my decisions, because I know that you're just going to decide for peace and love and happiness for me? He said that's what you should remember. It says allow the Holy Spirit. Allow the Holy Spirit to do what? Decide for God for you. So the Course in Miracles is not asking you to make insane decisions. The Course in Miracles is not asking you to make insane decisions. Sometimes it can look like the Course in Miracles is asking you to make insane decisions. It says you're not asked to make insane decisions, although you can think you are. What does that mean? Well, there's a part of me that thinks it's an insane decision for me to decide that I'm only innocent and I don't have any guilt in me whatsoever. I think there's a part of me that thinks it's insane for me to decide that I'm not this body, that is not what I really am. There's a part of me that thinks it's insane for me to decide that I'm not a victim at all, that nobody's ever doing anything to me, and that I'm always the one that's creating everything that's happening to me. There's a part of me that thinks that it's insane to make that kind of decision. And it says, it must, however, be insane to do what? To believe that it's up to you to decide what God's creations are. So what is the Course in Miracles definition of insanity? It's insane for you to think that you can decide what I am. It's insane for you to think that you can decide what another person is. It's insane for you to think you can decide what another person is. It's insane for you to think that you can decide on your own what another person is. That it's insane for you to believe that it's up to you to decide what God's creations are. So the Holy Spirit perceives the conflict exactly as it is. The Holy Spirit in you, the truth in you, your right mind, these are all definitions of the Holy Spirit. Your right mind sees the conflict exactly as it is. And so the right mind, your right mind is going to teach you this lesson. To have peace, teach peace, to learn peace. Demonstrating peace, that's a preliminary step. Since you don't see that having something and being something is the same thing. If I want to have fun, I have to be fun. If I want to have sensuality, I must be sensual. If I want to have sanity, I must be sane. So the Course says we don't really understand that yet. But it says the second step is, however, more advanced than the first step. So what is the first step? The first step is to recognize, to have all, give all to all. To have appreciation, give full appreciation, which is only the beginning of the thought reversal. So what is the beginning? The beginning is to tell yourself to have all, give all to all. The second step, now what is the second step? To have peace, teach peace, to learn it. That's a positive affirmation of what you want. Those of you who are following me, you'll see that I am teaching directly out of this book. I am not giving you my opinions, and when I do, I'll let you know. But I'm using the Course in Miracles to teach a Course in Miracles. I'm the divine repetition teacher. That's what I'm doing. So the Course in Miracles says that the first step, which is telling yourself to have all, give all to all, that's the first step in the thought reversal. The second step is for you to tell yourself to have peace, I need to teach peace, to learn peace. That is a positive affirmation of what you want. You want peace. So wanting peace is a step in the direction out of conflict. Do you know that if you really want to be out of conflict, you have to take a step in the direction of peace? How do you take a step in the direction of peace? You take a step in the direction of peace by positively affirming to have peace, I must teach peace, to learn peace. So choosing for peace, it says, is a step in the direction out of conflict, since choosing for peace means, what does choosing for peace means? it means that alternatives have been considered. You know, I can either have peace or I can have conflict. I'm choosing peace. So that means that it means that I'm considering alternatives. What are the alternatives that you're considering? Whether I'm going to give myself peace, if I'm going to move in the direction of peace, or if I'm going to move in the direction of anger and conflict. And if you decide to go for peace, the Course in Miracles says one has been chosen as more desirable. So you have made the decision that peace is more desirable to you than conflict. But even the term more desirable implies that there is a degrees of desirability. So even though taking the step toward peace is essential for the ultimate decision, going in the direction of peace is clearly not the final decision, but choosing for peace and teaching peace and demonstrating peace, that means you're moving in the direction of the final decision. You don't realize that lack of order of difficulty in miracles is true. Like he says, lack of order of difficulty in miracles has not yet been accepted, because nothing is difficult if it is wholly desired. Nothing is difficult if it's wholly desired. So what does the Course tell us? If you really desire something, it's not difficult. If you really and truly desire peace, it's not difficult to have peace. It's only difficult to have peace when you don't truly desire it. It's only difficult when you don't truly desire it. That's a powerful, powerful, powerful statement. To desire wholly is to create. So how do you create? You have to desire whatever it is totally. Total desire creates. Total desire creates. Complete desire creates. To desire wholly is to create. And creating cannot be difficult. It's not hard to create. It's not hard to create. Do you know it's not hard to create? It's not hard to create. If God himself created you as a creator, then it's not hard for you to create. If you were created as a creator, it's not hard for you to create. If you were created as a bird, it's not hard to fly. If you were created as a bird, it's not hard to fly. If you were created to be a creator, it's not hard to create. All you have to do is totally desire. Totally desire what? If you're smart, you would totally desire the truth. You would totally desire love. You would totally desire peace and abundance and oneness. And most of all, you totally desire the Holy Spirit to decide for God for you. I totally desire that the Holy Spirit make all my decisions. I totally desire that love make all my decisions. I totally desire that the Holy Spirit decides for God for me. I desire that the Holy Spirit make all my decisions for me. I desire that my higher self make all of my decisions. I desire that my greater self make all of my decisions. I desire that my right-mindedness and the love in me make all of my decisions. I totally desire that. So to totally desire is to create. So don't forget that creating isn't difficult. It's only difficult to create what you don't really, truly desire. And anything that you see as being very, very difficult for you to create, that would mean what? That would mean that you don't really, truly, really, truly, really, truly, really, truly, really, truly desire it. And what you really, truly desire, hopefully that's peace and to demonstrate it and to teach it. But whatever you really, truly desire is not difficult to create. Okay, I'm going to stop right here. I think I've given you and me a lot of things that would be food for thought. This is a very powerful section. Don't forget that if you want to have it, you have to be it. So I'm going to do a little quick recap in just a minute. I'm a full-time teacher. I love teaching. It's my calling. I do my ministry, the ministry on a donation basis. So I would really appreciate those of you who feel like making a financial expression of appreciation to do that. And you could do that by going to www.earlpurdy.com. That's P-U-R-D-Y, Purdy. And you can also make a financial expression of appreciation through Venmo. And you can use the email address earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. I'm available for one-on-one personal get down, let's get to the core, get rid of your blocks sessions called clarity sessions. And for those who are open and receptive, I also use my almost 40 years of experience, well, actually over 40 years of experience as a soul purpose astrologer and numerologist for those who are open to that. Go to my website. It's called Clarity Session. You can book a session with me right online, and it also will explain the details about my sessions. Woo! Now, please share these videos. Please share these videos. It don't take but a minute to share these videos. Please put the video out there. Support my ministry that's helping all of us. You know, it's helping me. I hope it's helping you, and I feel like it could help others if they were more aware of it. My next Facebook Live is Sundays at 1 p.m. Mountain Time on the EARL Purdy page. And then on Tuesdays, I do the Way of Mastery, 7 p.m. Mountain Time on the EARL Purdy page on Facebook. And, of course, the Hardcore Course in Miracles on Thursdays that's especially geared toward Course in Miracles students. Okay, so let's do a quick review. So, listen to me. What you must recognize is when you do not share a thought system, you're weakening that thought system when you do not share it. Those who believe in what you don't believe, sometimes they perceive it as an attack on them when you don't share their way of thinking, because everybody identifies with their way of thinking. And your way of thinking is based on what you think you are and who you think you are. Your way of thinking is based on either love or fear. If you believe something is not true, then everything that you are expressing is coming from a lie. If you believe in what is true, our oneness, then everything that you do will be coming from a true place. So what is it that a good teacher does? A good teacher is a good motivator. So the most you can do for anybody is to try to be a person that inspires them to change themselves. And don't forget that you have to be what you want to have. You have to be what you want to have. You have to be what you want to have. You have to be what you want to have. A change of motivation is a change of mind. A change of motivation is a change of mind. You've got to get rid of the getting concept. You got to let go of the getting concept and get in touch with giving instead of getting. The reason why other people seem like they're inconsistent is because you're inconsistent. When you are consistently in living the truth and demonstrating the truth, then you will see that consistency reflected back to you and everyone around you. And a change of motivation is a change of mind. So it looks like for a while you've been told to not believe what you believe. The Course in Miracles says that it looks like you're being told not to believe what you believe. You believe you're separate, maybe. You believe you're a body, maybe. You believe that you're separate from God, maybe, or that you're not experiencing love, maybe. Well, then the Course in Miracles says none of that's true. So for a while, you're being asked to react as if what you believe isn't true. You're going to reach a point that the Holy Spirit's voice, that the voice of God, that the voice of love is so powerful and so strong that it will be impossible for you not to listen to it. You're going to reach a point that it's going to become impossible for you not to listen to the voice of God. So how do you get out of conflict between two opposite ways of thinking? There's only one way you can get out of conflict. You've got to make a decision. And you got to make a decision that you got to let go of one way of thinking and you have to keep the other way of thinking. And do you know that if you believe the Course in Miracles principles of innocence and love is what you really want to have your thinking centered on, then you got to let go of the ego, of the world's way of thinking. So if you keep accepting two ways of thinking and you keep trying to live by the way that the Course is teaching and then the way that the world is teaching, it's going to be impossible for you to have peace of mind. And if you don't have peace of mind, do you know that you are teaching conflict and that you are learning conflict? Do you know that your ego is going to try to tell you that it's up to you to decide which voice is true? And do you know that the Holy Spirit, the love in you, is going to teach you that God created the truth? God created the truth, and you can't change it. There's nothing you can do to change eternal love. You are loved, You will always be loved. No matter what you do, you will always be loved. No matter what you do, you will always be loved by God. But I didn't say whatever you do, you'd always be loved by another human being. I didn't say that no matter what you do, you'd always be loved by another human being. I said that you will always be loved unconditionally by God, the Holy Spirit. And the Course in Miracles says that there's been a decision made for you. And that decision is that God's will for you is perfect happiness. So you need to allow God to decide for God for you. Allow the Holy Spirit to make decisions for you. You're not being asked to make insane decisions. You're just being asked to tell yourself and receive the second lesson, which is what? To have peace, teach peace to learn it. 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 Take a breath and say it. To have peace, teach peace to learn it. To have peace, teach peace to learn it. To have peace, teach peace to learn peace. 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 Don't forget that a good teacher is a good motivator, that you can't change another person. All you can do is try to motivate that person to want to change themselves. To have peace, teach peace, to learn peace. Don't forget that peace is total fulfillment. That's what the Course in Miracles says that peace is. What is peace? Peace is total fulfillment. Peace is total fulfillment. And don't forget that to teach is to demonstrate. 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 To have peace, teach peace, to learn it. To have peace, teach peace, to learn it. To have all, give all to all. Full appreciation. It's talking about full appreciation. When the Course says to have all, give all, to have all, give all to all. Listen to this over and over and over again, over and over and over again, over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, because it's all about remembering. Mighty companions, I know it went longer this evening, and I just want you to know that I love you. I needed this, and that you have motivated me. You have actually motivated me to change my mind, to become much more committed to having one way of thinking and a totally loving way of thinking. So you are blessings in my life. I give you full appreciation. This is EARL Purdy. May the Course be with you. I love you.